Hello and welcome to the Wealth Doc podcast with your host, Mike Heckman. I'm Wendy McConnell. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Doing fantastic, Wendy. Great to be here. Thanks for coming.
Well, we have a guest today, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Attorney Blake Riemer from Ludington has joined us in our Ludington office, now become studio here. So thanks, Blake, for coming.
No, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, so you are an attorney in Ludington. So let's start off how long you've been an attorney and why did you become an attorney?
Yes. So I had gone to Michigan State for law school, and I graduated in 2018, took the bar exam. That was a grueling exam, but very happy to say that I obviously had passed that and I was able to move on to practice. I then came back home to Ludington, where I grew up here, and decided to hang my own shingle and start my own practice. So I opened up in around June of 2020. So less than ideal time to start with COVID going on, but was able to actually be beneficial because it allowed me to kind of slow things down and start up. And then so ever since 2020 in June, I've been in the same position. I had an attorney join me and some staff, so we're kind of growing, and it's been a great blessing to be back here in my hometown and serve the community.
Yeah, a little more about that. So you grew up here, but then when you went away to law school and then came back, so you could have opened that shingle anywhere. So why did you pick Ludington?
Yeah, I had thought about for a little bit moving to Grand Rapids and starting there. I think just due to the size of the town too. I mean, I've moved to several different areas between Grand Rapids, Lansing. I lived in Nashville for a little bit. And I really enjoyed the small town feel, the people here. And I felt like I'd be best suited with my skills to bring them back home here and be a part of the town again.
Fantastic. So when I talk to attorneys, I always find it fascinating. So you guys have to do the grad school, for law, obviously, but then you've got a lot of freedom or leeway as far as what you can do in your undergrad. And so what did you end up studying for your undergrad before you started doing law? I'm curious.
So I had probably one of the more unique undergrad degrees in law school. So I'd originally gone to Ferris for criminal justice. I did that for a semester and kind of realized that it wasn't the route I wanted to go after I got into it a little more. Had looked around at a couple other degree options, and I settled on music industry management. So
industry management.
Yes. So that I guess is what led me also to go to Nashville. And I was there for a bit, working with a record label and some artist management. And it was an eye-opening event. So I don't think it really contributed a whole lot to my law schooling, or besides just some unique experiences. But that is, like you said, a unique thing is your undergrad really could be anything when you're going to law school.
Yeah, I was thinking about that bringing you in because we've worked together before, and I'm like, I don't even know what his is. And if I had a top 10 list on my guesses, that would not have been on it. Oh, that's fantastic. So in your practice now, you focus primarily on estate planning, is that correct?
Yep, that's my main focus is estate planning. It's from the start I've focused on that and have only grown from it, and continue to get more training and more experience as I go on. So I really do enjoy that area of law.
Okay. So backing up for the 2,000 square foot for somebody who might not have worked with somebody like you or me in the past, so right off the bat, what is estate planning? How would you define that?
So estate planning is obviously a pretty generalistic term, but there's many different facets you can include there. Typically when a client comes in and they say, I would like an estate plan. And I said, all right, well, do you have anything set up? And typically, maybe an older will was set up or something else, but really the goal that's always brought forward from the client's perspective is typically probate avoidance, or a way to easily distribute assets after they've passed, or even setting up power of attorneys to avoid having to do a guardianship conservatorship. So really it's future planning. It's a lot of what ifs when you're looking through an estate plan, but it could range from, a will, a trust, your durable power of attorney for health or financial, even funeral directives. So there's many ins and outs, but it's really focused around planning.
So with our business owner folks that are tuning in, so if I'm coming in to see you as a business owner, what should business owners think about for their estate plans?
Yeah, definitely. As a business owner, you want to think about estate planning. Even if you're a sole owner, or have a partner with you or several partners, you're going to want to really plan again for those what if moments down the road. If that's you becoming incapacitated or passing, it's always good to have a plan in place to allow for a smooth transition. I think that the succession planning is very, very important, and should be looked at early on, so people aren't scrambling as business owners to figure out, what do we do if someone's not here?
So backing up to that last thing you said, as far as like, like sometimes that's setting up like a trust or whatnot. So I'm thinking we're gonna have listeners here that don't know like a basic difference between like a trust and a will. So like without going too deep into the weeds, what would you say is like the main difference between a trust and a will?
Yeah. So a trust typically is going to cost more than will. So there's that one point, there's a price point difference. But there also is a lot of benefits of a trust that a will doesn't have. I guess starting with a will, though, a will is basically you're giving directions to the court, and to the beneficiaries and your personal representative of what you want done with your property after you've passed. If you were to pass without a will, which would be intestate, the court then would just look at the state law and say, this is how distribution of the property will be. So you kind of lose your ability to, pick your beneficiary. It's pretty formulaic on how it goes out intestate. Whereas a trust, there's a lot more unique controls that you can basically have from the grave, I guess, for lack of a better term, that allows you to, give to charities, to many beneficiaries, and you avoid probate. So you stay out of court. So it's private. It is cheaper on the distribution portion. Again, it's very subjective and depends on your estate. But the trust is really a good way to avoid that probate that I know people are very afraid to have to go through.
So if I just heard you correctly, so if I passed away without making my own estate plan, the government's got one for me. If I create my estate plan, I've given these probate guys at least an idea of what I wanted. And then if I set up a trust, then I've now set it up so that I bypass probate and it's cheaper to distribute, is what I just heard.
Yep. Yeah. It's in my opinion, a trust is a cleaner way of kind of centralizing all of your assets and letting whoever you appoint as trustee know, hey, here's my beneficiaries. Here are the assets that you're able to distribute or hold on to. Maybe even there is, to not dive too deep, there is a whole slew of different kinds of trusts that can be created depending on your desire and goal.
Awesome. So with the estate plan, we're talking about like what happens after we pass. So like, what are the benefits while I'm still here, for setting up an estate plan?
Yeah. So again, it kind of, as I pointed out earlier, you could have your power of attorney set up, which are always included with your estate plans, or should be at least. And that avoids the need for a guardian conservatorship through court intervention. And that would be if you, were injured or incapacitated and you need someone to step in and take care of your finances, pay your bills, or make those medical decisions for you. And again, that goes with business owners too. You want to make sure you have someone step in and help care for that business and keep it running. And for the trust, I think it's still beneficial as well during your lifetime to have that set up. There's some perks there of having those assets again all in one place and well known. And it's always great to talk to the beneficiaries or whoever you appoint and let them know where they're at and what your wishes are.
Fantastic. So being out there in your practice, what are some mistakes that you've seen, with people trying to do this on their own?
Yeah, it's common, unfortunately, and usually at the time when people come and have these issues, it's kind of too late to fix, unfortunately, a lot of times. One of the top ones I've seen is maybe someone had a trust created and they were either not informed on how to fund or basically place assets within that trust to make that trust of any use. Without funding the trust, you have a shell that has no use really. So that's a big mistake I've seen, at least from the trust side. As for other people, kind of going on their own or finding these online create your own estate plans, which they can work, but you really want to do your research if that's the way you're going. I always advise that you speak with a professional in creating these documents. It could be sometimes they may have a will that lays out, I want to give to my niece and nephew, but they have their bank account set up where there's different beneficiaries or life insurance is different beneficiaries. And the intention was there, but that niece and nephew now are getting nothing because there's nothing left if there's no other assets. So that's another big one.
So let me interrupt you there
Yeah.
because I think what you just said was important and kind of went over there fast. So so if I set up my will one way and then I set up my beneficiaries another, what happens?
Yep. So if you have, for example, again, bank accounts with a transfer on death or pay on death beneficiary, and it's listed as a different beneficiary than who's listed in your will, and there's no other assets that could be given to the two people listed in your will or however many people listed in your will, they're not going to get anything because that designation of beneficiary is going to trump that what that will states.
Yeah, that's huge. So if I've got 3 kids, X, Y, and Z, and I'm mad at Z and I change my will and my beneficiaries are still X, Y, and Z, then unless I had some kind of short-term emotional feeling from putting there, I didn't do myself any good.
Correct. Yes, that is always a big concern there. So you want to make sure you're well on top of who you have listed as beneficiaries and on certain accounts.
Yeah, I was thinking X, Y, Z. I almost use my own kids' names, but then I don't want 10 years down the road them listening and thinking, which kid did I pick to be mad at right now? So yeah, but so X, Y, and Z, and then so that brings up a point then. So we have this estate planning done, or maybe I did this estate planning, after my last kid was born. How often should I update my estate plan? When does that make sense?
Yeah, so I always recommend every 3 to 5 years you should revisit your estate plan, but definitely revisit it sooner if there's, milestones or major life events or really any life event that could change what assets you have or who you would designate as a beneficiary. Kind of bleeding into a common mistake that people run into is, if someone has a divorce or gets remarried and they don't update their estate plan, you can run into a lot of trouble. I guess not you more so, but the beneficiaries can run into a lot of trouble when they come to realization that this is an old will and it's designating to an old beneficiary that no longer is around.
I could be giving a lot of money to somebody I don't like anymore.
Yeah, you want to be very careful and make sure you update. So big life events, I always say you want to jump in there.
What kind of life events? What do you think are the main ones?
I think it's always interesting to see clients and their approach when their kids are married, or if it's a new spouse. Some are very protective, say, "Well, I really want to make sure this goes to my child." Or so if there's divorces in the family or remarriages or marriages, if there's additional children that are born or nieces and nephews, I think it's very important then to revisit and reassess and make sure that your estate plan still is in line with what your goals are.
Right on. So you with your practice in Ludington, so are you like a Mason County footprint, or like what how big of a geography do you serve as clients in?
So since I'm, licensed in the state of Michigan, I can go statewide, but that definitely doesn't mean I go statewide.
Right on.
That'd be a lot of work. But I have gotten clients as far as up as the UP who've come down for estate plans. But typically, I would
But
say
they came to you versus you riding your bike up there.
correct. Yeah, it would be a lovely drive or bike ride, but definitely a little lengthy for me on that one. But mostly it's Mason County, Lake County, Oceana, Manistee. The surrounding counties typically is where the people come from when I'm doing estate plans or really any legal services.
Okay, so other than estate planning, what does your firm do?
So I have another associate, and she is primarily focused on family law, so custody and divorce. She also does some crim defense. So we've got those bases covered. I do some type of landlord-tenant and some contractual work through the courthouses as well. They're definitely in need of attorneys, so I'm always willing to jump in and help, and it's great experience, and it's a help to the community as well.
So if I've got a small business and it's getting bigger, and I'm looking at my LLC and I might want other incorporations, is that the type of stuff that your practice would do, or not really?
Yes, nope. I definitely do business law as well, and I look into creation of LLCs, tweaking, adding members. Definitely have helped many clients around this area start up some companies and small endeavors, and that is a very rewarding and fun part, is having them come back later and updating me how they're going and how their venture's gone.
Fantastic. So put you on the spot. So if I could like get you to hone down like one thing that you wish more of your clients knew before they walked in the door, what would be that one tip of the spear thing that you would like to more people armed with?
I think the one thing that I really like to inform clients on is you don't have to go into a estate plan thinking that you have to appoint every, sibling or child in a role because it's fair. You want to appoint the most responsible person in that role. But unfortunately, some people think, well, they might be upset if they're not appointed. Usually these roles are not an exciting endeavor or something that's well sought after by any means. It's a task, it's a job. So I think that's probably one of the more important pieces that I want people to think about when they're considering estate planning, more of the responsible and not the what is fair and what would make someone happy.
Right on. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do so?
Yep. So you can either contact us at our office. The phone number is 231-480-1101. Or you can contact us online. We have a website as well. That's www.riemerlawpllc.com. Fantastic.
So, yeah, man, I super appreciate you coming in today, driving like that 8 minutes to get here, so much appreciate your time, and thanks for being here.
No, I greatly appreciate the opportunity, and happy to certainly give any advice I can out there. So thank you for having me.
Mike, how can people get in touch with you if they have some questions?
Oh yeah, for us, I've got our team that answers at 231-425-4308. Again, our main office is 231-425-4308. And if you go to wealthdoc.com, the same name of the podcast, they'll take you to our landing page that's on our business website. So a couple ways to get a hold of us on there as well. So yeah. Thanks, Wendy.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.